about 1 minute away, I will start, okay? And thank you very much for joining. I know this time could be a little bit tricky, but we have chosen this. So some people from Central Europe and also here in the UK could also join easily. And for Spain, of course, this is a little bit challenging. It's also lunchtime, but we can do it. Come on. Sometimes we can use our time wisely. So let's start. And what we're going to talk today is how we can use some research techniques, both online and offline, to support our data-driven marketing strategies. And the thing is, most likely this should have happened to you in the past, is what happens, oh, wait a second, this is not working. Now it is. So what happens when you have to maybe deploy a marketing strategy to a market you don't know, and maybe you could be biased for your former experiences in other markets? Or what if you have to address to a new generation of consumers? Have you seen before? We had the baby boomers, then we talk a lot now about the millennials. Millennials are fading away, and now we're talking about Generation Z. So how do we know them? Which are their habits, their preferences, their interests? So that's something that also could give us some things to think about. Or what if we have to compare ourselves to other competitors? What's in a consumer's mind when they have to choose between one product and the other? Which are those moments of consumption? What's on their top of mind when they have to think about maybe the ingredients of that product? So when we need to find some answers instead of working on presumption, that's how we work, creating some techniques to support this strategy. My name is Eliazar Santos. I work for Good Rebels, and I'm just here working as an ambassador. As a business director, I have the luck to be working on a lot of projects, but the real experts on this matter is our Datatag team. Good Rebels is a digital strategy and creative company. Our motto is working on how to support marketing through data, creativity, and technology. And if you want to see and maybe to follow one of our fellows rebels that work on this field, I recommend you to take a look to these names and follow them, since you may be having some fun as well, learning something. So Good Rebels is an independent agency that is both in Europe and Latin America. We're based in Madrid, Barcelona, Mexico City, and Brighton. And what we want to talk to you today is precisely to understand consumers and do not to presume, do not be biased. What we want is how to help you to profile your targets in order to build stronger business relationships and to innovate in the product and service offering. So when we have these kind of questions like who are them, what they're looking for, what's the digital behavior, we better have some tricks under our sleeve. So today we're going to show you three techniques that rely on inspiration, how we empathize with both the industry and consumers so we can meet both their aspirations and demands. Observation, how we can take several sources of data and make them actionable. This data could be both internal and external. It could be from your side, could be also from some available data that are on some sources that sometimes you can pay, or maybe you can just use. And the other technique or set of techniques, we call it immersion techniques, those ones that help us to know the true feelings from consumers so we can decode the reasoning behind every behavior, every emotion, or every motivation. And of course, this kind of thinking is aiming to involve people in the development of the offering. So if we are taking into consideration the stakeholders, that could be both our customers, it could be both our employees, we could more likely be able to succeed because we are taking what's their needs and what they're looking for. Sometimes they have the word and we don't have it. So this will be our approach to get that things working, our multi-perspective research approach. And you'll see on the axis, we have both online and offline. on the left side, traditional focus groups. That's something that still works no matter if you are living on a digital age. And relying with these focus groups, we work hand in hand deploying the customer journeys. This is the thing you may be listening since a couple of times. And that's another thing that, hey, let's try to provide who are we targeting to. Let's try to see what's their path along the purchase path. And then trying to find these wow moments, these pain moments, and we can work on how to improve them if we really understand what they're looking for. But then if we go to the online side, we have some available sources we can use. For instance, audience profiling, that you will see in the future, is how we use some available data to start narrowing down and trying to find such segmentations and more behavior patterns. Then we can have also some service, online service. This is very popular. You may have seen it before. You create a survey that could take from 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can boost them through social media, advertising to your own community or excluding your community to new consumers so you can find them and have some quick answers for a quick approach. Then we may have panel surveys, which is a more detailed, it takes a little bit more of time to gather such information. We're talking here people that is devoted to reply to your surveys. They take up to 10 to 15 minutes. It's very deep, and you can get something more thoughtful in response. And then something you will see in the upcoming slide that is very interesting, something that's called panel tracking. So we have this set of people. They are continuously participating in these kind of boards. They are incentivized, as a matter of fact, and they have also some tracking devices in their laptops or in their tablets and mobile. So we can get to know where they've been, which website they have visited before or after. And you can see all the way where they have been doing until they finally do what we want them to do, which could be do a booking or do a purchase, okay? And then we have some more processed and more automatic approach, which will be the listening. You know, the social listening we have with tools such as BrandWatch, that we set up a query and we gather some information. Then we have to make categorization of such information and try to exploit the data. That kind of quantitative analysis we are going to support with the media analysis, which is a qualitative approach. So we enter to our social media, to our benchmark social media. We try to identify the strategies of communication and what are they getting in response from that. And last but not least, definitely, is when you have a devoted community for yourself. Having online communities will help you to track along the way with very quick questions, some insight that could be valuable to optimize this relationship and to keep on growing. And if we can try to find it, this kind of techniques is not only a one shot. Our recommendation is to be on a regular basis, trying to learn from the people, trying to learn from your consumers, from the community, and you will find new ideas that you will have to test, launch to the market, and then to optimize again. That's what we call it. First of all, you have to have empathy. That's being on your consumer shoes, or could be also your employee shoes or candidates, because let's not forget, we also work now on employer branding projects. Second, will be to define which is the challenge or the approach of that problem that we want to tackle. Then will be the ideation stage. That's trying to be fair, to rethink what we've been doing, trying to find new ways to challenge ourselves, our way of thinking. Then will be the prototyping, which will be, okay, we've been in this stage, we've done things before like this. We have now this new model of work, this new product, this new service. Let's give it to the people. Let's see what they think about it and if they find them engaging. And then it will be, we test it, we use it, we optimize, and we go right away. So in this way, and since I have a presentation now, and this screen is a little bit covering me, the comments you may be chatting or sharing, please let's try to keep it for the end of the conversation, okay? Because if not, I'm going to be a little bit distracted, okay? So let's see, focus groups and customer journey. So this is very interesting. This is nothing, or this is not something that we can do either one and then the other. Actually, are some things that goes hand by hand. The focus groups are qualitative approach that could help us from people, observing them, listening to them, talking and getting some answers, trying to get some hypotheses we can work on a more deep level afterwards. In this stage, we gather in the interviews some things that could be relevant to go further, like which are the wow moments in their experience. They're expecting something and we have to surprise them, which will be those moments of truth that we can say, hey, if you don't satisfy my need here, you are going to lose me. What's their level of satisfaction with the product or services you are delivering? And most of all, which are those needs you are not addressing? Let's see how it works. So in the observation stage, that's something that is very important to take a note, to see in every channel of communication that we may have what's going on and make an independent evaluation of that. That said, that could be our website, that could be our service of customer support, or social media, or email, and of course the telephone. In that case, we have to identify if they need some help, if they've been asking some information we have not been providing. And gathering this whole information, we try to make a synthesis of that. We try to find like the main insights we have to work to find from a problem, a solution. And we can find this way some opportunity developments that maybe could be in the communication process, or maybe just some workflows between our company, inside our company. For instance, sometimes the customer support department doesn't communicate to the marketing department or to the communication department. And we could be addressing some key insights that we could get there, and maybe even for the development of a product. And that's why we make short lists of ideas, and we try to look for some real projects that we can implement. We'll share here an example. Here in Good Rebels, we have our area of forward thinking that we call Rebel Thinking. And one of these cases will be the project that we call Bank to the Future. And what's the future of the banking industry with the iGen, okay? The iGen are the people that currently, they are between the 16 and 25 years old, and their financial needs are not the same ones of a millennial, and certainly not like their parents or grandparents. So we gather them here in our offices, we make them a series of questions, trying to see what's a banking like, how it should work. It has to be mostly mobile, it has to be easy, what kind of products they need. Are they looking for investment for buying a house, or are they looking maybe some financial products for what they really find valuable in life, like traveling, going to a concert, sharing with their friends? In this kind of projects, you just gather these people, you watch, and you allow them to start building whatever they can show you that you can do. If you want to check further information about this project, for instance, you can go to this link and find other stories like the MatMat scene that's for auto industry, and you'll see how it works. Then when we have the buyer persona, we work with the customer definition along the journey. That means we start with the business goals. Then with these business goals, we work on the segmentation that we have been used to the whole life, like what's the age, what's the demographics, but we have to make it to go further. That's when we build the buyer persona. This buyer persona has to be somehow nuanced by what they're looking for, what's the habits on digital consumption, which are the preferred means of communication, when they are more likely to respond to you when you are trying to reach them, and so on. And that's when then, along the day, you find the different contact points you may have with them, and you define an action plan for one of these points. And you have to define for that a set of KPIs, which could be strategic, those that are linked to your business goals, or tactic, that just help you to understand how effective is your operation running. From that, you get the conclusions, and then you find the opportunities to overcome and go further. Let's see an example. For instance, for a hotel, the customer journey will be like this. Somebody is still trying to figure out what to do for holidays. That's what we call the pre-holidays stage. They're looking for inspiration. They ask to their friends. They watch maybe some Instagram posts, and they start to say, hey, maybe we can go this year to Indonesia, or we can go to the West Coast, or maybe we can go to Thailand. They take the decision in this stage. It's very important to know if it's a solo traveler, or maybe it's a couple, or maybe they're planning a trip with their friends, which is kind of different. Then it goes to the planning. When it goes to the planning, goes, okay, we're looking for the hotel in this area. We're going to go to these stages. We have everything set. We need a car, or we're going to take a taxi. Great, let's do the booking. Once you have the booking, and depending on the industry, the stage that goes after is very, very important, comes the preparation and the arrival to the place. But that's just a part. That's what's important, to have a satisfactory experience, because when you are in the hotel, the check-in is a very crucial moment. That time when they're queuing in the front desk and they have been received by somebody with a very nice smile, and they say, hey, your room is ready, let's go. So entering to the room could be a pain point, because it's easy to open, it's nicely decorated. What if they have nice views or not? Do they have any special surprise waiting for them? And then you have all different spots there that could be also valuable for you, like having restaurants, what's the experience in the beach, how it was in the spa, the pool, etc. But the trip doesn't end there. Why? Because once their holiday has ended, they have to go back to their places, they have to go back to their houses. And that's when they're going to remember they had a great time, sharing that maybe with colleagues at work, and even promoting, because they could be sharing that on social media, these great pictures. You know, there's a little bit of ego behind, and trying to say, this is like that, and getting new customers to that venue. So everything of this is, every part of this cycle is important to tackle. Let's imagine, so we can see further, it's even bigger, because we have several ecosystems that are connecting, like this. If we are going to go on a trip, the inspiration part, they have several players involved. If there is a Lonely Planet, if there is a Skyscanner, if there is a Google on the social media. The booking process, several players involved, as well as the preparation at the airport when you arrive, and so on. And we have just highlighted before the where to stay, and we have a whole thing to tackle. Just to give you an example of that, in Good Rebels, we developed a project for the Spanish group Palladium, where we tried to understand what was the profile, their interests, and the attitudes of the American traveler, the ones that comes from the US, and then even also from Canada. These travelers, we tried to profile them doing a series of interviews to the Salesforce team, travel agents, tourists, employees, mixing that information with trends and online listening. With that, we analyze each stage as we did before, trying to understand how they choose their destination, what kind of travel they may be looking for, which kind of activities to find in those travels, how's the purchase process, which devices they use, the kind of questions they look for to be solved at the customer support, and so on. And with that, we work on 3 axes, trying to understand how was the baby boomer traveler, how was the millennial traveler, Generation Z traveler, and how to work with them to support, to deliver better service and products at their size. So now we're going to the audience profiling. We've been working before, as you've seen, with the interviews and having some qualitative approach. Now we are trying to give some data to support that. And in such cases, there are several information abroad that you can look for reports, trying to understand which are the characteristic of a market, or maybe what are the main traits that you want to have from a certain generation or demographic. For instance, in Good Rebels, we work with Global Web Index. This is this is a private source of information. You have to sign up and to pay for that. But that gives us a broad information, for instance, of digital means of consumption, what's the behavior of any given market, how a generation is behaving, the use of a new tool or a new social media platform, and so on. And what is best, you have an audience profiling based over more than 20,000 attributes that you can narrow down and trying to find a profile of people you want to address. This kind of information source works with 18 million people from 90 countries. So it gives you kind of both information that you can use in your strategies. Now, let's go for a tool that could be deployed very easily and very quickly from your own social media, the online service. The online service are usually this kind of information you will see that goes on a dark post that offer you to participate in a raffle or having a prize like a gift card and so on in exchange of knowledge. Usually when we work with that, we like to have a bold information and we like maybe to have 500 entries. And we try to get this kind of service not very long. An optimal time frame will be taking 5 minutes to answer such information. The limit for that will be 10 minutes. You can use tools such as Easy Promos or SurveyMonkey or whatever that is very easy to configure and to boost, because you will just link it to the social media advertising, and you can target information to people that are in your community. So people that is already cultivated, that know you, and you can ask questions about your product and so on, or maybe excluding such people and finding new people or new customers to address your communication and to learn from them. For instance, we did it with Twix, one of the brands that we work with in Good Rebels. Before launching the social media platforms in Spain, we wanted to know if people get to know really Twix and how they perform, how they are perceived compared to other players like KitKat or other bars like that. So with that, we identify not only the brand territories we could work on the content plan, but also we identify something valuable we're still working today, a moment of consumption. That's why Twix is pushing a lot in their social media, trying to see and to show the world how tasteful and how wonderful it is to have a Twix with coffee. Because among the consumption, we identified with people at work and students. And this kind of survey, we launched it in our social media through Facebook and Twitter, but also it was served through the Facebook network outside our community, and it was served in places such as the Washington Post, as you can see. Now, this part, I really like them because it's where you really go deep and you get more information. The panel service and the panel tracking. What's a panel? A panel is a commercial group of people, because they are incentivized, they get some kind of payment for that provide to the company a relevant information on a regular basis, and they don't change along the way, because it's like they have control, they know the characteristics, the demographics, and on a regular basis, they receive a survey. And they could be capable to have not only the information from them that comes from the survey itself, but also from the demographics of those who answered the survey. How it works. You can, this is a service that most of the time you have to work with a partner, and we'll show some names afterwards, where you have to define the survey. This is a survey that we recommend not to take more than 15 minutes, because it will be challenging, if not, for people to really complete such an instrument. You set the list of questions, and you have to wait until they have all the data gathered, and you have to structure the data and make the interpretation. That's why for us, they said that it could be possible to work from 30 people on. Nevertheless, most of the partners, they recommended to work with 200 people. And if you want a really complex composition of the people you want to, or audiences you want to scan, we recommend you to have at least 400 people. And what's the panel tracking? is with these same people that we have already captivated in these panels, they have, as we said before, some tracking devices in their laptops, in their desktops, or even mobiles, and we can get to know their navigation log, where they have been before and afterwards of any point of the customer journey. That said, we can gather, for instance, the list of URLs from our competitors, from our website, from our social media, maybe the influencers we are working with. And when we place that in the navigation log to understand where they have been along the customer journey, we can find that maybe they've been reading a post in a blog before going to your website. And you can optimize your maybe investment in influencer marketing or maybe in advertising in any given media. Some tools that you can use for that, we've been working, for instance, with NetQuest. They can help you, and they have a consolidated panel that we can work on a regular basis, not only for Spain, for other countries as well. But if you want some on-demand, self-served options, we also have some tools such as We Are Testers or Synclar, formerly known as Snappy, where you can do very quick tests. You can test campaigns, products, videos, messages, and so on. And to give you an example of that, I'm going to share with you the case of Royal Caribbean International. In Good Rebels, we work with Royal Caribbean on the social media side, and we also deployed some projects on the marketing side. In that case, since the Eurozone headquarters is based in Barcelona, and they have to work with markets with such different profiles, such as the Spanish, the Italian, the French, the German, Austrian, or Swiss, we needed to know how to profile better the audiences and how to get to know what they want, what they're looking for when we are going to create the marketing campaigns. That's why we work with NetQuest, and we make a profiling of families, couples, older couples, and those solo travelers. And we get to know which were their main attitudes, which were their vacation behaviors, and how was the booking process for them. Because as we found, Germans, for instance, they plan their vacations with a lot of anticipation, maybe with a year in advance, whereas Spaniards and Italians, they kind of do it on the last time. So when to invest, what's the message, and what they're looking for, the places, that's the kind of information we got from this. Now, something you've been maybe listening before, which is the listening and the media analysis. What's the social listening? We have several tools in the market that help you to do so. We have maybe Clarabridge or Radian6, so we have Brandwatch. Those are tools that monitor online conversations about our brands, competitors, products, or topics. So they help us to identify which is our share of voice from the whole market, which is the conversation held. We can identify where is it a blog, is a forum, or is it Twitter. Spoiler alert, most of the time it's Twitter because it works as a dynamization hub. And as you may have known that since the Cambridge Analytica scandal, well, most of the conversations on Instagram and Facebook are not that easy to track. It can help us to get to know and to categorize such conversations on the customer journey, in which stage they are having those conversations, is pre-booking, post-journey, let's get to see that. We can help also to identify internal and external key opinion leaders and work with them and having ambassadors that can help to raise the awareness of our brands or products. So what can we get from that? We can get consumer market insights, opinions about our brand and the competitors, how to create which are the most attractive content to people that we can see they really engage with, not only in our media, because we can see that from the social channels, but also outside our channels. It can help us to identify trends and opportunities, how to optimize their customer support service, because sometimes they complain about ourselves, but not in our channels. And those moments of contact with the client, how we can do it better. And how social listening works. Well, first of all, and this first part, you have to do a workshop. It's very important to set which are the goals and what we want to find about that. Then you go to the tool, you make the query setup. Then you work to the classification. You have to take out all the information that is not valuable and just get those real good conversations, categorize them, find what's positive, negative, or neutral, and try to make them fit into categories you can work with afterwards. Then from the analysis, you'll find the main topics, which are the users, what's the evolution of the conversation along the way, and trying to find some knowledge that you can actually deploy. Just to give you an example, that's something you will have online dashboards to work with, but most of the time you will have to set up a small and very easy to scan reports so you can share it with the whole organization, because this is the kind of reports that is of interest from marketing, for human resources, for customer support, for communication, for whoever has a touch point with somebody in the company. And when we talk about media analysis, that means going to your own channel, to your social media, to your website, all those of your competitors, to try to understand on a qualitative approach, which are the brand territories they are working with, what's the type of content and formats they're using and the success they get from the community, what's the post frequency, which are the networks more relevant they're using to understand their media mix, what's the usability on such places, and if they are deploying or not creative actions and tactics to meet their goals. And our last tool that we can use for finding this are online communities. Maybe you have seen this before in the past, and I really like the example that we have on our right side. The online communities is where you get your true fans, your most enthusiastic people that gives you information, they share and they comment amongst themselves, and you can gather some information that you can activate because they can help you in the brainstorming process. They can help to understand some patterns of behavior, maybe which are their interests or needs that are not fulfilled, and even to find new business models or new services and products. On the right side, you have Lego Ideas, for instance. This is a project that helps the biggest enthusiasts of Lego to propose which set will be developed in the future. All of them, they are provided with tools so they can design and kind of think what will be the nice set they would like to see the Lego to have in their stores. The community vote to see which is the best set. So there is a short list and they go to another round. Once they get the most voted and reviewed from the community, you have the company that says, hey, I like this proposal, I think it's bold, let's give it to the market, and you can get a cut from the pie from these sales that we can get from that. So this is outsourcing innovation, and this outsourcing innovation helps not only the company, but also the consumer base having a win-win, because they will see something they really want to be in the market on the one hand, and second, because they can get perks and they can get even some monetary compensation for their ideas. But we can also have some communities that are not structured on a website. And this is the kind of things we do also with our clients. For instance, in the UK, when the Formula One changed from the Channel 4, from BBC to Channel 4, Sky TV wanted to get to know what was the experience from people when they were watching the Formula One. So for that, what we said is a group of WhatsApp of 36 people. And when they were looking at the Formula One competition in Bahrain in 2016, they were receiving some questions along the way. These questions were structured and there was a wild card. And we could see not only messages or text information, but also images that could help you to understand if they were looking at the show by themselves, what were they drinking, what were they eating, if there were children around, if they were happy about the comments of the guy conducting the show, and so on. So wrapping up and trying to see which kind of technique could work for you. When we see this kind of strategies, you may think, hey, what's the one that is suitable for me? Most of the time, it depends on how much time do you have for that. And even it's not that about that much money, but how persistent you want to be a long time, and to have valuable data that you can make some let's say snapshots on a regular basis, so you can really work along the way. In our approach, every project that we have in here in Good Rebels are supported, for instance, from the listening on a regular basis, that we can have either it's a monthly, quarterly, half a year, or even that we can have every year, depending on the project. The media analysis is something you can do, and you should do at every stage that you have a project kicking off, and on a regular basis trying to see what's the benchmark doing and how you can improve whatever you are doing. The panel as well is something maybe every year when you do the marketing strategy definition, that's something that you can get your hypothesis to work, or you can use the panel tracking as well to try to identify if that influencer campaign that you did, if it's working or it's not working. Well, that's it, Guy. I just want to thank you to be here. We've been rolling a little bit faster than I thought, to be honest. I think that's on my side. Also, because I want to be punctual, but also I wanted to have some minutes, around 10, 15 minutes for you to have some questions, so we can gather information from your side, whatever you are leading on your projects or in your company, and trying to find a common ground to comment. I will take the conversation to the screen. I will stop sharing so I can see whatever you're talking. Just a second. Okay. I don't know if somebody has a question. I'm not seeing. Oh, we have one here that is hidden. I'm so sorry. Here, question and answer. So we have from Eugenia that says, hey, Ede, thank you very much. Which social listening tools would you personally recommend if you're working on a project from different countries? So this is a very nice question, because if you're working on English or Spanish, it's very likely for you to have a very easy work to do. But then when you go to other markets, and when you have to work with so many European languages, that's when the challenge comes. From our personal experiences, we have partnered in this case with Brandwatch. It works very well. For instance, we have been handling projects in Italian, French, German, Spanish, and English, and it works amazing. Actually, on a further note, I know that they have merged with a tool that is called Crimson Hexagon, and that has a layer of artificial intelligence. So having that capability to teach the tool so they can gather some information, and you can minimize the human work, it also works very, very good. What's the challenge of that? Of course, when you are doing a project on a multilingual level, one thing is the language that you make the analysis, and then how you deliver that to a message or to a language that everybody can understand. We do that. For instance, we work with a multinational company from the fashion industry, a Spanish one, and we have a project with them for 8 countries and the tracking. And of course, if you are scanning the Netherlands, that comes with a little bit of a challenge when you have to do Dutch. So every time that we do analysis, you need somebody from that local market to understand whatever is going on there. But when they create the report or they create the dashboard, that should be in English, so everybody can have information on that. That kind of question, I think, is the same one that Sarah Bini, I've seen you can do. I don't know, Sarah, if you have had another question in another experience with these kind of tools in the past. I know we have seen, because sometimes these tools, they come along with some kind of assets. For instance, we know that there's another tool called Bridge that is very powerful, and they have a very powerful customer support thing. And the labeling you can do from these conversations, that could be also amazing. So it all depends if you want to have one tool that works for everything, or you're capable to have for each of them. So my top two at the moment, and it's not that I know all the tools for that. For that, I have our Datatag team to help us to find the right tool whenever we need it. Is Bridge and especially Brandwatch. Paul Dolin. Thank you very much, Paul. And you say, have you seen a rise in the request for social listening from clients? Actually, most that have seen a rise, we've seen like it's they expect that for granted. They take it for granted. Why? Because we have seen in the past that when we had some failures from the main platforms to have the analysis, like when we happened in the beginning with this Instagram, they didn't have all the advertising solutions. Therefore, we have to do everything by hand. So you need a support for whatever is going on, because the platform says something, but you need somebody to audit that. So you need an independent evaluation. What is really, really important is whenever you start a project, you should do some social listening, because you need to find the voice of the consumer and to get it into your project. And if you cannot do it on a regular basis because maybe they don't have enough conversations, we like to work on conversation volumes beyond the 4,000 conversations to see like there is a real good trend on there. If that's not something on a monthly basis, go to a quarterly basis or go to a half year basis. So you can make a regular screenshot to whatever is happening. You can see whatever, if the sentiment is changing, which are the main topics, and how big is your share of voice. So it's on the rise, yes. It's also, I would say, compulsory for whoever is working on digital, yes. Paul says, we have our Irish clients, but don't feel we're using the right tools so far, so have been experimenting. Well, test and learn. That's something that also can tell you. If they don't feel, because in order to see if the tool is the right one for you, I will need to know what's the goal, what you're looking for. Because maybe it's not listening. Maybe what you need to do is maybe one of these fast research with a panel, or maybe an online survey, because if you have a huge community on your social media, you can shoot a survey and find what they're thinking and try to optimize on a very fast level. What we know, especially for instance, fast-moving consumer brands, they have a huge challenge, because unless they sell online, which is not the case most of the time, they need to see whatever is going to happen at the point of sales to gather some information and so on. So big companies, they like Unilever, Mars, and so on, they could be having these Facebook brand lists that try to tie somehow whatever is going to happen in the store with their online activity. But if you don't want to wait that much, because that takes time, and they give you after the report, go with a very quick research. You can go with Sinclair, you can go with We Are Testers, and you get some information before you launch a campaign, and you don't have to wait for that long. I don't know if somebody else have a question. Eugenia, Sarah, and Paul, I will write you just in case, so you can have the information. Also, I would like to tell you that it's February, last of February. We started with our webinars back again as we did last year, and we're going to have one every last Wednesday of the month, okay? So for the upcoming months, we'll have a Rebel Fellow that will be here sharing a history with you and something you can follow. What I will ask you to do as well, make sure you sign up to Rebel Thinking, because that's with my colleagues, they share the information and the learnings from the projects. We have our articles and we have our reports that I'm pretty sure you will have some information, because if you want to be competitive in this digital economy, you better be collaborative and be fast, and make sure that you learn from that. So go to our website, goodrebels.com, go to the Rebel Thinking part and sign up, please. So you will be informed about the upcoming webinars and so on. Well, thank you very much to my colleague, Bea, that she gave the the URLs, and she's laughing. I don't know why. Actually, she's been laughing the whole conversation. That makes me a little bit nervous. That's why I go fast. Well, guys, if we don't have further information, thank you very much for being here. I like investing my time trying to find people and to share ideas. This deck will be available in our SlideShare. So if you have any further comment on whatever you need, go there, see the information. You can go back to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Eliazar Santos, and you can join and also follow my colleagues from the Datatag Hub. You can go and see their LinkedIn profiles. You can click on the names, you will see them in the presentation, and join the conversation, okay? Thank you very much, and see you on next opportunity. Bye-bye.